Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ومعوانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وزدنا علما. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق الخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وصحبه حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. الحمد لله. We're continuing on from yesterday. We spoke about two important topics. The first topic was the topic of tadhkir, of reminding each other, mutual reminding of good actions, reminding each other of the akhirah, reminding each other of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of His sunnah, of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and other key matters in the religion. And then we also spoke about intention. So one of the aspects of tadhkir that we forgot to mention yesterday is that the beauty of tadhkir, or the benefits of tadhkir, is that it leads to an increase in one's himmah, and it leads to an increase in one's character traits. Yeah, it leads to an elevation and an increase in one's state of being. And therefore, tadhkir, this concept of reminding each other, can increase one in what we call the concept of jiddiyah. What is jiddiyah? Jiddiyah is what we would translate as seriousness. Yeah, or we could say it's like resolve or determination, yeah, or drive. Actually, a good like modern word. You say somebody's got drive. He's driven. He's a driven person. That kind of concept. There's jiddiyah, and they say Habib Umar bin Hafidh says that da'wah is founded upon two concepts. The successful caller to Allah, he is someone who has jiddiyah and jundiyah. Jundiyah is like martial discipline. Yeah, martial discipline. And that's why you see a lot of comparisons between, if you go to Dar Mustafa, it's ajib, there's a lot of comparisons between that and like some military training, in the sense that particularly you look at the concept of sleep. One of the aspects that you learn in Dar Mustafa is to sleep for as little as possible, but still be able to maintain optimal performance. Yeah, still be able to maintain peak performance with very little sleep. And this is what they teach now in the army. How do you go 7 days, like talking about 5, 6, even 7 days without sleep, and you're still able to operate and function at the highest level? So that Mustafa is a similar type of thing, and that's an aspect of martial discipline. Also, the discipline of being able to arrange your time and arrange your moments so that they're for Allah. This is all part of Jundiyah. And then Jiddiyah, seriousness, is the drive that pushes you forward, and it's also your absolute determination and resolve. Many aspects of jiddiyah. One aspect of jiddiyah for the da'i particularly is that the da'i who has jidd, the caller to God who has jidd, who has seriousness, he is somebody who takes any means. Yeah, he takes any and all possible means available to him in order to achieve his goal, which is to bring people to Allah. This is the real sign of the person of jidd, that he's going to take any means. And this is why jiddiyah implies being broad-minded in our approach. We have to be very, very broad, and we have to be very, very accommodating in our approach, such that we take any possible means. Like our teacher, Habib Muhammad al-Aidurus, hafidhahullah, he said that da'wah, anything which is mubah, anything which is permissible, is now used as a tool by the caller to God. So we therefore aim to arrive, or aim to allow people to arrive to Allah through all of the different means at our disposal, everything that we can possibly find. This is a really important concept, because sometimes people think da'wah is just like classes, or they think da'wah is just like, mawlids or dhikr gatherings, or da'wah is just about socializing, getting people together once a month or once a week. But rather, da'wah is about everything. And creativity within our da'wah is what's going to allow us to reach fruition with our goals, to reach more people. Because our goal is to make Islam relevant and impactful to everybody. In order to do that, we have to take all of the different means that are available to us. Now, so this is an aspect of what we would call jiddiyah, seriousness, determination. And this type of seriousness and determination is really what allowed the previous generations to spread Islam across the world. they mentioned, there's a famous story that Sheikh Husseini mentioned it at a recent khutbah in Tarim. He delivered a beautiful khutbah about this. Actually, a lot of it was about this concept of Jiddiyah. And he mentioned at the early sort of period of Islam. And the Muslims were essentially conquering the world. So you had like powerful armies. You had the Roman army. This was an army which was very disciplined, a very organized, very well-equipped army, but they were being obliterated in battle after battle. The Persians, we know within the first 15 to 20 years, the two major superpowers of the world fell. Yeah, that's important for us to give us confidence. Like Habib Umar bin Hafiz, recently we had a Dawah conference and people were speaking. It was a 3-day Dawah conference on media, the impact of media on Muslim lands and on Muslims in general. Very, very important topic. And there were people from all over the world. There were people from different fields of life, journalists and media people. And the general kind of mood towards the end was that this is really difficult. Yeah, we are up against a machine, i.e. the non-Muslim media. We spend millions of pounds, billions of pounds even on movies and all these things. How can we compete with that? That was the general mood that we got. That as Muslims, we really got it difficult. How can we compete with a media machine like that, with people with that kind of manpower and resource and strength and punch, you could even say. And so Habib Umar spoke at the end. He did the concluding remarks and he said, why do we fear when we know la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah? Why do we worry? Why are we concerned? Yeah, why are you even looking at them? The Prophet ﷺ didn't even look at the Persians or the Romans, or the two great superpowers, the Persians. He didn't even look at them. He wasn't even interested. He really wasn't interested. All he was concerned with was him and his relationship with Allah. And once that was rectified, and once he brought the Sahaba into that realm of rectification, khalas, that was it. And so within 15 to 20 years of the Prophet passing away, they've been conquered. So now the Roman emperor is in a state of disarray. His empire is disappearing before his very eyes, and is disappearing at an alarming rate. So now he writes a letter to his Chinese counterpart, the emperor of China at the time. And he explains to him what's going on. He says, and you'd better be careful. Right now you're safe, but they're coming after you, mate. That was the basic letter. These people, they're unstoppable. So the Chinese emperor, he says, okay, and this shows you this is intelligence. Yeah, this is a level of intelligence. The Chinese emperor says, first things first, we need to find out what their secret is. What are they doing? Now, why is it that suddenly these people, these Arabs who had conquered nothing before then, they couldn't even stay united within themselves? The tribes were constantly fighting. They would enter into a 30, 40, 50, 60-year war over the dispute of one horse. They'd kill somebody just because he looked at them or he said something the wrong way. Yeah, they were really, and very, very bad. They had no ability to do anything. Like if they tried to conquer people outside, they would be defeated by armies that were much better organized. Yeah, and they knew that. They wouldn't even attempt to do such a thing. They had no civilization, no law. This is all before Islam. They had absolutely nothing. So how is it these people have been able to suddenly arise and conquer everything? What's going on? So the Roman emperor sent spies. He sent spies to the Muslim camp to see what's going on. And then they come back on the spies report. What did they say? They say these people, when nighttime falls, said they build they light with these big fires. Yeah, to keep the light. That's how that was lighting in those days. It was pitch black. They light with fires, and that's their heating as well, because it can get quite cold at night. Even in the Arabian desert, it can get very cold in the Arabian desert actually. And so then he goes, they're in circles around these fires, and all you hear is this humming sound. Like they're reading a book. This humming sound. They're reading, and they do this all night. And you see them doing this. And then when day breaks, when the morning comes, during the daytime, they are fighting with each other to serve their fellow brother. They are fighting with each other. They are competing with each other to be the first one to do the act of good, to serve, help, elevate other people, to serve creation. Yeah. So these are the two qualities that they would say that the knights, by day, like knights as in knights on a horse. Yeah, the knights by day, avid worshippers by night. Yeah, so the nights are spent in worship of Allah, Qira'atul Quran, 4, 5, 6 hours. This is what we see today, right now, today, the great callers to God, they will spend 5 hours every night. They don't sleep at night. 5 hours a night, istighfar, Qira'atul Quran, azkar. Yeah, 5 hours a night. This is what gives them their strength. They do this, and then during the daytime, they are fighting in order to serve each other. I'm going to be the one who does that. What a contrast to the day that we live in. What a contrast. Yeah, so he said, and so then the Roman emperor, he reports this information back to his Chinese counterpart. He says, okay, we did our research, we did what you said, we've gone. This is what they've got, these two things. At nighttime, they're humming, they seem to be reciting this book. And then the second one, during the day, they're competing with each other to outdo their counterpart. So what do we do? The Chinese emperor, what does he say? He says, you will never defeat these people. Is that these two qualities that they have, that makes them undefeatable, unbeatable. Because even if you place mountains in their way, they demolish those mountains aside and they'd go through and achieve what they wanted to achieve. These people are unstoppable, insurmountable. You can't even slow down their progress. So then the Roman emperor said, okay, what do you want me to just give up then? Okay, I can't do anything about it, I just give up. And he said, no, distract them with something else. This is what you need to do. You need to distract them, divert their gaze and their attention away from what they're doing to something else. Then you have a chance. And that's exactly what's happened to us now. Now, what do we do between Maghrib and Isha? Maybe we're watching a nice TV show, or we're just talking about whatever we're talking about, or worse, yeah? What are we doing in the middle of the night? We're snoring. So we're doing in the middle of the night. Who's up, from like 4 or 5 hours, like, these great people were in the past, yeah? And what's interesting is that some of these practices became normative. These were normal practices of the Muslims between Maghrib and Isha. Every single shop across the Muslim world was shut at that time. Yeah, not just like in 1 or 2 countries. Every single shop, no matter where you went, from Morocco all the way through to China, every land and in between all of those lands, the shops were shut and everybody was in the masjid. Everybody, without exception, was in the masjid reciting the Quran. Then at night time, about an hour before Tahajjud, the mosques were full. I remember going to Tanim in 2012, the first time we visited Tanim, and one of the things that really strikes you is you get there and at Tahajjud, it was almost as busy as Jum'ah. It was like Jum'ah in our countries. The main hall was packed 45 minutes before Fajr, and they started their Azkar. It was packed. Yeah, so they understood this. This is the essence of Jiddiyah. Yeah, so this type of approach to da'wah, this type of approach to life is what creates success. Yeah, and this comes about through tazkir, through reminding people start to see the value of these things. That's how they're going to be pushed forward to do them. That's why we just have to act. Like they say, if there's no harakah, there's no barakah. If you're not taking movement, if we're not doing something, we're not going to create any type of change. We're not going to create an increase or any type of elevation. Yeah, elevation, increase, goodness, all of it comes about through harakah, through movement. Yeah, through some type of desire to do something. Yeah, this is the basis. Okay, so if we continue from yesterday, we were speaking about making our words impactful. So we said we need to make our words impactful, and we mentioned three qualities to make our words impactful. The first one was food. Yeah, food being the basis of our actions. The second thing that we mentioned was embodiment, particularly for parents. This is the only effective parenting approach. Yeah, this is what the moderns now tell us. You can look at like Erickson, PhD, all these kind of the modern child development experts, and then you can look at the people of the past, the ancients, from any civilization, whether it be Greek, whether it be Roman, whether it be Chinese, whether it be Islamic, whether it be Christian. They're all going to tell you exactly. The parenting comes down to embodiment. Yeah, because children follow by example. The human being emulates by nature. Whether we like it or not, the human being is going to emulate. So this is why we're saying emulate the best of creation. And the parent needs to become like the best of creation, and then they emulate it. Yeah? It's a very simple formula. Some ways it's actually a very optimistic formula, because like all you've got to do, like, oh, I want to change my kid, just change yourself and your child will follow. So it's not like, oh, I can't do this. This is out of my hands. It's so difficult, so strong. The outside influences. No, just change yourself and then watch what happens. Yeah, and make dua for your children and for your communities and for your families in the depths of the night regularly. Always be making dua for them again and again and again. And these are the impacts. Habib Qadim al-Saqafi said, if you make dua, sincere dua, and you take the means, you do whatever you can, yeah, you act, you do all the things you can, and you make dua, it's very, very, very rare, yeah, that your deeds on that what you want isn't going to happen. It is going to happen. Yeah, okay, it might take time. Allah's testing you with patience, but why? Because you're taking the what Allah wants you to do. They say if you make dua and you don't do anything, and you say, oh, Allah, give me a job, and then you sat at home doing nothing. You're not going out looking for work. Yeah. Oh, Allah, give me a family, but then you're not actually seeking to get married. You're not looking to get married. Yeah. They say that the one who does that, oh, Allah, make you from the pious, but then you're not even attending the masajid. Yeah, you're not even reciting the Quran. The one who does that, Imam al-Ghazali says that that's somebody who is worshipping shaitan. Yeah. I'll fill them with false hopes. This is a false hope. Yeah, that he's just filling them up with false hope. You're not going to achieve anything until you get out and do it. Yeah, so this is what we need to really try to focus on. The reason I mention this because I say the silent majority, this majority which we kind of fall into, this category of people who are just cruising along. And therefore, then other people come along and sort of take the main center stage of Islam because 95% of us are asleep. So now we're allowing other people to come in and push their agendas. Okay. And then the third ingredient, of course, is intention. So there was a question yesterday about intention, inshallah, which we're going to look at now. The question was about sincerity. So we look at sincerity and how we can achieve sincerity in our intention. Okay. So the first thing we need to understand if you want to do this is in order to improve our intention, we need to understand what intention is. Intention is that which propels or that which pushes you towards an action, that which motivates you towards doing an action. Yeah. So for example, you wake up in the morning, what gets you out of bed in the morning? That's your intention. Yeah. From the level that there's many other definitions, but this is the definition we're trying to understand. What is it that's really making you tick? What's it that's really pushing you out of bed? Yeah. I can remember a few years ago, I worked in, going back many years now, actually, I used to teach English over the summer. Someone was teaching English, and there was one of my colleagues really made me smile. He said that because there was like an illness, a lot of people were ill because it was quite an intense schedule, and there was an illness going around anyway. So he said that because whenever I'm ill, I'll always do the 50-pound test to myself. I said, what's the 50-pound test? He said, if I'm lying in bed and there's a 50-pound note a few yards away from me, yeah, maybe 5 or 6 yards, if I can get up and go to that 50-pound note and pick it up, that means I'm well enough to go to work. Because if I can't do that, then khalas, fair enough, I'll stay in bed. Yeah, I'm really not ready. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, how many of us, if we were given £50 to wake up at an hour before Fajr, how many of us would do it? Like, I mean, it'd be an interesting poll to take, wouldn't it? Yeah, or £100 or £200. Yeah, people will be there day in, day out. Because I know people that wake up at 5 in the morning for work. Yeah, I mean, I did it myself for many years. You're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning for work. If you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning for work, why can't you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning for Allah's work? Yeah, so it's there. The reason is that we've placed barriers ourselves in terms of not wanting to do for whatever reason. Okay, so that's the intention. Again, if you want to understand sincerity, yeah, because this is the reason. So how do we keep that sincere? We need to know the opposite. What's the opposite of sincerity? Is showing off, riya, ostentation. Yeah. So riya is when you do something for other than Allah. Yeah. When you do an action for other than Allah, that's riya. Sincerity is when you do it for Allah alone and nothing else. Yeah. So now riya, showing off, doing some ostentation, doing something for other than Allah has levels. If you understand these levels, we'll understand the levels of sincerity as well. The first level of riya, the worst level, is where you do something purely for other people. So for example, you pray your salah, but if nobody was there, you wouldn't even pray your salah. That's purely just doing it because next man's there. That's the only reason you're doing it. You couldn't care less about anything else. You're doing it for someone else. So this is the lowest level. Yeah. The second level is, and this is just one definition, but there's many ways of looking at this. This is just one explanation. The second level of Riyah is where you do the action, even if the person wasn't there, you would still do it. Yeah. But the person being there increases you in energy. You do more. So for example, you're praying, normally you would pray, it would take you 2 minutes. Because someone else is there, you pray for 5 minutes. You do your really long recitation of the Quran, your sujood suddenly becomes longer. Why? Why is your sujood now 5 minutes, whereas before it was about 5 seconds? Yeah, because of somebody else. Yeah, so that's the second level. But it's better than the first, because at least you would still do the action anyway, it's just that you're not doing it, yeah? And then the third level is that whether the person's there or not, you're still going to do the action. But if they hear about it, wow, yeah, it makes you feel happy. Yeah, so you doing the action, you spending all night in prayer, even if somebody's there or isn't there, it doesn't make any difference. You're not going to increase anything. You're going to do exactly the same. But the next day, oh, you know, Tahir spends all night in prayer. If that gives, there's a movement in the heart. Oh, wow, yeah, you feel good about that. Problem, danger. Now that's a sign of a lack of sincerity. Yeah. The fourth level and the kind of the final level in this paradigm is if any praise or any criticism from creation affects your heart, then there's an aspect of insincerity, a subtle aspect of insincerity within you. Yeah. If any praise or any creation, so anybody says anything good about you affects you. Anybody criticizes you and it affects you. This is obviously very lofty. Yeah, subhanAllah. Like, I mean, of course, the human nature is if someone says something about you, for you to become critical. Yeah, and to become defensive, going, this is normal. Yeah, so we're talking about people, mashallah, this is like people of real high ranks. Yeah, but this is what we're talking about. So the sincere person is who? He's the one who asks for Allah and nothing around him affects him. If people are there, he's not going to increase. He's not going to feel happy. He's not even going to look at their praise or their criticism. Yeah. He doesn't fear any of that. He's not concerned. He doesn't desire any of that. Yeah. The one who doesn't desire position amongst humanity is a great person indeed. This is why Imam Ghazali, he says the last thing, yeah, the final thing that really affects the person. Yeah, the final thing that the awliya are affected by is love of leadership. Love of leadership is what really affects even the awliya. That's the last thing to leave the heart of the human being. Is love of leadership. Okay, so now if you go on now, if you look a little bit about some of the practicalities of intention. So we look and we look to preserve our intention. What can we do practically? There's a question in there as well. We'll come to the question, inshallah ta'ala. So practically, what can we do in terms of intention? So there's 6 different things that are mentioned. Yeah. The first one is reciting the dua on avoiding shirk. So there's a dua that we recite 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. Yeah. So we say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika shay'a wa ana a'lamu bik wa astaghfiruka lima la a'lamu bik. Yeah. So Allahumma inni a'udhu bika. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika. That I should associate anything with you. Yeah. That I should associate anything with you. Wa ana a'lamu bik. And I am aware of it. Yeah. So Allahumma inni a'udhu bika, I seek protection in you. And ushrika bika shay'a wa ana a'lamu bik, and I'm aware of it. Wa astaghfiruka lima la a'lamu bik. Wa astaghfiruka, I seek your forgiveness. Lima la a'lamu bik, in anything which I don't know. So they say recite this 3 times in the morning, recite this 3 times in the evening. This is like a prophetic cure. Anytime you feel riyah coming to you, anytime you feel like you want to show off, anytime you feel like you want to do something for someone else, anytime someone's praise or criticism is impacting your heart, your soul, then recite this dua. Yeah, number 1. Number 2, Surah Al-Ikhlas. Yeah, yeah, to constant recitation of Surah Al-Ikhlas is, mashallah, yeah, is one of these, also one of these cures. The third thing here is constantly beseeching and asking Allah for help. So we recognize that we really can't do this by ourselves. You can't. Yeah, if we think we can overcome our nafs and be sincere, then we're deluding ourselves. We can't. We need the help of Allah, yeah, to do this. We constantly beseech Him for help. Number 4, this is one of the most important. We conceal our good deeds. What does that mean? We conceal our good deeds in the same way we conceal our bad deeds. Yeah. If you're committing a sin, what extent are you going to go to conceal that? Yeah. If you go to the betting shop, or you taking an illegal substance, or you're going to the pub, you're going to go that, or you're going to do everything, or someone finds out you've done something wrong, you can do everything to conceal that sin on you. Everything. Exactly the same way conceal your good deeds, in exactly the same way, and you will, lo and behold, you achieve sincerity. Yeah, this is really, really important. This is probably the primary advice really that they gave. Imam Ghazali gives it, and many of the teachers in team mentioned this. Yeah, that conceal as much as you can, because then there's only going to be one reason you're doing it. You've taken equation, you've taken creation out of the equation. Yeah, you've taken creation out. Completely out of the equation, and that's how this sincerity develops and flourishes. Yeah, concealing our good deeds. Then the next one is making intentions at the start and recollecting them throughout an act. So this possibly fits in with what the question that was asked as well. Is if you look at the issue of sincerity, if you look at the issue of intention. So before we start an act, we do multiple intentions. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. You got about to put on like a perfume. So you say, I'm doing this to follow the sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I'm doing this to attract the angelic presence. I'm doing this to enliven my own nafs, my own soul. Yeah. To come into contact with my fitrah. I'm doing this as an act of charity, sadaqah for others. They will smell the smell and they will come. Yeah. And many other whatever and intention. And that's you do them with every act. Yeah. You do that at the start. Yeah. And then that's it, khalas. So you've done your intentions, and then obviously after that you say, I'm doing this primarily for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then that's it. So for example, like we mentioned with dawah, every time you're going to engage in dawah, you have these five intentions, and you look at them like I'm doing it to teach, because this is what the Prophet said, I'm doing it to revive Islam, to preserve the sacred, etc. So you repeat these. Then once you go into the action, then you just try to maintain your focus on Allah. So then it literally just becomes about, I want to, I'm doing this for Allah, which we're gonna go into in more detail. Yeah. So you make an intention, and then you continue to recollect those intentions. Yeah. Or another approach, is one of the approaches mentioned by some of the imams. Imam Shafi mentioned this approach, is that you do your intentions at the start of your act. Then whilst you're doing your act, you do your utmost. You try your absolute utmost to maintain focus on Allah throughout the action. Yeah. So like Imam Shafi, for example, he talks about this idea of lillah, for Allah, that the human being can multitask. Human being can concentrate on many things. So he says, do your actions, and then in the background, lillah, lillah, lillah. You can see what I mean? In the background, you've got it constantly going on in your head. This is for Allah, this is for Allah. And speak to Allah. Yeah, we say, let's speak, Ya Allah, this is just for you alone. And you speaking to Allah directly. Like the Anbiya are known for their vertical speech to the divine rather than the horizontal speech to creation. Yeah. So speak with Allah, Ya Allah, this is just for you. I wouldn't even be sat here, I wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't be engaging in this. And try to maintain focus as much as possible on that. I remember asking one of our teachers in Talim, like, what's better? Is it better to do your intentions and then keep on repeating your intention? Or is it better to do lillah? He said it's better to do this approach of just maintaining presence of heart. Yeah. And this takes spiritual training. Yeah. Inshallah, maybe you can have some feedback from people in a few weeks. How are you getting on? I'd be interested to know, because it's, subhanAllah, it's a challenging thing to do, but this is really where sincerity and presence of heart comes from. Your purpose in life is to be present with Allah, no matter what and no matter where you are. That's your purpose, isn't it? So how do we achieve that purpose? Through these types of means. And then the final one is to take out time in the mornings and the evenings. Yeah, to take out time in order to worship Allah alone. Yeah, what does that mean? So for example, between Maghrib and Isha, you have your Quran, the middle of the night, different times you making dua. We need time as a caller to God, or as a human being, you need time with Allah alone, yeah, to strengthen you. Yeah, so those are the afwan. So there's actually, yeah, that's 7, yeah. So just to go through the 7 again. The first one is reciting the dua on avoiding shirk, like we mentioned. The second one is abundant recitation of Surah Al-Ikhlas. The third one is constantly beseeching Allah. The fourth one is concealing our good deeds. The fifth one is making intentions at the start and continually recollecting them. Yeah. The sixth one is to do it for Allah, constantly in the background, you speaking to Allah. Then the seventh one is having specific times in the day when we're alone with Allah. Yeah. Those things, inshallah, we ask Allah for tawfiq to be able to implement these things. This is really, if you can bring these things into our life, it will completely transform our lives. It will completely change every single engagement that we have. Yeah. When we're with people, we will be with Allah. But this obviously takes time. This takes development. But inshallah ta'ala, this is about this is what we can ultimately try to achieve, inshallah. Okay, we'll stop there. I think there's some questions. So the first one: does it work to make a blanket? I intend whatever the Prophet and Awliya intended in my time, and acts and reward. Yeah, we could, that's a good place to start. So what we do is we think of specific multiple intentions, and then we also make a general intention, like I intend to do this for. I intend to do the actions. And this is definitely something we do beforehand. Sincerity sounds very hard without keeping things extremely secret and private. Yeah. So what do you do? This is a very good question. What do we do if work is public work, or you make your identity known for other benefits, easy to encourage other people? Yeah. So the rule is this. The rule is we conceal as much as we can. Yeah, we conceal as much as we can, but there's certain actions we can't conceal. Yeah, so we don't let the devil trick you. Don't end up thinking, oh, well, I'm trying to be all pious, so I can't go to the mosque and pray. No, that's pure devil talk. You go to the mosque and you pray, but then you struggle with those demons within that are making you want to show off, and etc., etc. Yeah, so we don't obviously abandon our outer actions. We have to be in the public, but you do that at the minimal extent. As soon as you get a chance to avoid that, become obscure, you run for the hills. Yeah, with pleasure. God, thank goodness I'm out of that. Yeah, you have no desire for it, but it's necessary. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as places within the world. Yeah. So this is how we do it if we have public work. Yeah. And I mean the other point as well about public work is like we have to have a sense of muraqabah, of awareness Allah's watching us. And also we have to have a sense of muraqabah, awareness, consciousness of the akhirah. So one of the things that Shaykh Ahmad Zarruq anhu, he mentions in one of his works, he says that all of your deeds will be displayed before everybody on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, before the Prophet, before all of creation. Everything you've done is going to be shown. Yeah, absolutely. They say, like Imam al-Awza'i, one of the early scholars, he says, sa'a bi sa'a, moment by moment, your whole life will be shown before everybody. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to display everything. So therefore, have that sense of when you're doing something and you start thinking, just think, you know what, Allah's going to ask me about this. And maybe I might be questioning what I've done right here for you, like, this is going to be a forceful question on the Yawm al-Qiyamah in front of everybody. So why am I messing around? Why am I doing that for? Just do it and just have sidq with Allah. Because do you really want to be exposed before creation? If that's the level that we're at, maybe. Or do you really want to be exposed before Allah? Yeah, and we have to answer, why did you do that? For that reason. Why were you showing off? Why were you thinking those stupid, insignificant thoughts? I'll do this and I'll do that, etc., etc. So, subhanAllah, this is part of our challenge and our journeys to maintain this presence. Then the last question here, inshallah, we'll finish with. Please tell us a little bit more about sleeping little, living optimally as you described with Mustafa. Okay, so sleeping little, yeah, subhanallah. There's things we can do practically to sleep little. Amongst those things is to eat well. Yeah, to eat healthily is really important. If you want to have more energy, then we should be eating well. Even more important than eating well is actually to eliminate bad foods. Yeah, to eliminate things like sugar, to eliminate like these bad things within one's life to the further extent possible. Exercise, all these types, and we take outer means. And then beyond that, what you see with the habaib is what keeps them up in the middle of the night. It's actually love. It's like a deep, profound love of the Prophet ﷺ. That's what keeps them up. Really, that's what keeps them up. Like, you see the habaib, when they're on the verge of tears. And most of the time they're on the verge. They're either crying or they're on the verge of tears. Yeah, and then when the Rasul is mentioned, they can't hold it in any longer. They just start to choke up. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So there is a burning desire to please the Rasul and keeps them up all night, every night. Yeah, it's not a problem for them just to stay awake at night. Yeah, and then beyond obviously their struggle. Yeah, it's a stage thing. You know, like maybe you take it down 10, 15 minutes every day. You know, like that. So if you're sleeping, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours, you say, I'm just going to go back 15 minutes. Sorry, I think Habib actually says 5 minutes. So he says 50 minutes every month or 5 minutes every month. I can't remember which now, but whichever one's easier for you. So then over the month, so you're sleeping 6 hours, let's say. Okay, so the next month I'm going to sleep 5 hours, 55 minutes every day, like that, you know, and then gradually you end up doing it. One of the most powerful things now, and this is interesting, modern science tells us this, is a dhikr and meditation. So they say now, this is non-Muslim research, that a 15-minute session of meditation is the equivalent to 45 minutes of sleep. Yeah? 15-minute session of dhikr for us. Dhikr strengthens the ruh, the spirit. And through strengthening of the ruh, we're able to sleep less and we're able to need less from the world in terms of food and all of these other issues. Yeah. Final point to this, don't forget, why are we trying to sleep less? The reason we want to sleep less is so we can do more things and so we can make the most of our time. So if we are making the most of our time whilst we're awake, then forget about sleeping less. In other words, stage one is not to sleep less. Stage one is to make sure we make the most of every single second that we actually have. Yeah, we are awake. So let's just say we're sleeping 8 hours and we're waking up 16 hours. Forget about trying to go down to 7 hours or whatever. Just think, look at those 16 hours that I'm awake. What am I even doing in those 16 hours? Am I making the most of every single moment? Once we make the most of every moment that we're awake, then we start to look at sleep. Yeah? Okay, I've maximized everything now. There's nothing more that I could be doing whilst I'm awake. From as soon as I wake up all the way up until I go to bed. Yeah? I've analyzed it. There's nothing better that I could do. Now I need to start looking at that. So it's time management, which is important, and we can speak about this in more detail in a future class, because time management is from the essence of spirituality. Really, spirituality isn't about flying through the sky and getting a buzz from dhikr. It's actually just about organizing your time, essentially. All right, okay. If there is actually, sorry, so if there is anyone wants to ask a verbal question, inshallah, we'll open and then we'll close up. So if there's any other questions, or anyone who wants to type anything else, inshallah. Okay, inshallah, we'll stop there. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin.